Professor assigns grades in a modern poetry class according to where a student's average is located in the following diagram. So what we have here is your C, your grade of C is given within anything within a half of a standard deviation of the mean. So a half a standard deviation up or a half a standard deviation down. A B is assigned to anybody who makes between half of a standard deviation above the mean and 1.5 standard deviations above the mean. And the A would only go to people who make more than 1.5 standard deviations above the mean. And going the other direction, anybody who gets between 1.5 standard deviations below and a half standard deviation below would get a D. More than 1.5 standard deviations below a D is assigned an F. So the grades in the class, 82, 88, 83, 87, 73. Let's go ahead and set up a chart here because we need the standard deviation. So our X's are 88, 83, 87, 73, 78, 85, 77, 88, 90, and 92. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grades. Okay. Now this is raw data, so we're not going to be using a frequency table. So the first thing we need to do is get our X bar. Our X bar is going to be the sum of these divided by 10, because there's 10 numbers. So we need to sum all of these. I suggest you pause the video and add all of these up. Okay, I added these up and I got 841. So 841 divided by 10 is going to be 84.1. Now I need to get X minus X bar. So 88 minus 84.1 is going to be 3.9. 83 is going to be a negative 1.1. 87 is going to be 2.9. 73 is 11.1. 78 is going to be 6.1. 85, 1.1. Let's see. This one's a negative, this one's a negative, this one's a negative. We're really not going to care, just to do it right though. 7.1, also negative. 3.9, 5.9, and 7.9. Okay, now we have to square all these. So you better pause and get those figured out. Okay, so here are all of those numbers squared. Stop and double check and see if yours match up with mine, because our standard deviation is going to be the sum of the X minus X bar squareds divided by n minus 1, and then we're going to do the square root of the whole thing. So we've got to sum this. Stop the video and go ahead. Okay, I got 349.3. So the numerator here is going to be 349.3 divided by 10 minus 1 is 9. And we're going to take the square root of that. Turns back to be we'll just call it 6.2. Okay, so our mean was 84.1. That plus or minus a half of a standard deviation. So if one standard deviation is 6.2, 1/2 standard deviation is going to be 3.1. So 84.1 plus 3.1 is going to be 87.2. 84.1 minus 3.1 minus a half of a standard deviation is going to be 81. So anyone who makes between an 81 and an 87.2 is going to get a C. The grades for B are going to be another standard deviation above that. So I could calculate 1.5, or I could just, this is already a half, so if I add one standard deviation of 6.2 to that, this is going to come out to be 93.4. So between 87.2 and 93.4, they're going to get a B. Above 93.4, they're going to get an A. The D grades, if I subtract a standard deviation from this, 81 is already a half of standard deviation below. So if I subtract one standard deviation, that's going to give me 1.5 standard deviations below. So a D is going to be between a 74.8 and an 81, and below that's going to be an F. So the person who made an 85 is going to get a C in this class. Harsh, huh?